Well, first off, thanks for everyone's understanding last week when my schedule suddenly exploded in my face and made Monday impossible. But, and I believe, no, I am sure that next Monday is also going to be a problem because I'm going to be on a plane. So uh, we will find our lights where we can. Um, in the meantime,
I have to ask,
yes, sir.
is it snowing where
Yes,
other people are?
yes. It
That's a great welcome back to Colorado.
it is snowing because Colorado is drunk.
Not drunk.
My joke is that Colorado in April, May is a bit like your ADHD friend who decided things are going so well, so I'm just not going to take my meds for a month and see how it goes. Not that I've ever done that.
What was the analogy I saw? It's the you know Colorado, it's like Colorado winters, stamps out of the room and then stamps back in and says, and one more thing.
Yeah, it is. It is something.
So we got some plants planted over the weekend. I'm so glad that I was diligent about doing that. Although I think most of them will be okay. I'm glad we didn't get any delicate annuals, put in the flower pots.
We're waiting because we're gonna redo the front yard with like a xeriscaping kind of a deal. So we're kind of waiting on planting things, which is fine. And I can snicker behind my hand at all the people who are wasting time sprinkling or using sprinklers on their lawn when it's raining perpetually. I have not needed that, and I have the backyard completely shut off, so that's all good. Anyway, so yeah, a little bit of craziness. Last week couldn't work. Next week won't work. Things are nuts. But we soldier on. When we
I don't know.
Go ahead.
Did speaking of scheduling, did Dave tell you about our scheduling with James coming up on the 30th?
Yeah, so I'm going to be getting top surgery on May 30th, so
is this okay?
Scheduling may be a bit weird.
Do I need to? First of all, congratulations. That's awesome. Secondly, I had already started recording. Is that okay?
That's fine.
All right.
That's fine.
So congratulations. That's freaking awesome. So
yeah,
Kaylee didn't catch any of it on the news.
That may hinder gaming, at least for me.
Yes. Understandable.
Next week.
I think. Wait, is next Monday is the 30th, isn't it? Or am I?
No, it's no.
Oh, you're thinking 30th of June?
I was going to carry it to James.
It's sometime next week, but not Monday.
Okay. All right. So we'll see how that all goes. Wait, out comes with bated breath, all that kind of good stuff.
No, it's Thursday.
Since we haven't gotten spun up yet, and I mentioned my daughter, I have to share something that I think only this group can truly appreciate, in which James has already had a chance to share in the glory. My daughter texted the Masks group as a collective group and said, "Why is it?" And I thought she was like annoyed with some sort of science project or something. Why is it that koalas aren't considered actual bears? And I was busy Googling the answer when she pipes up with, because they lack the correct qualifications. Which, I mean...
Bamboo!
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree there.
And, yeah. And one of the fellow players immediately responds with, "That was unbearable." And then I said, and here I was being an idiot looking things up, and she said, "Dad, you missed a perfect opportunity to say, bear with me while I look this up on Google." And I'm like, what then proceeded was, I'm going to say 20, at least 20, if not 30 solid minutes of koala and bear puns in which I took no part whatsoever. It was
That's
just,
a lie.
well, I did like one. Mostly I just stood back and shook my head in shame because I couldn't keep up. They were, oh my God. But yeah, it was basically just Kaylee and one of the other players back and forth for a solid 20 minutes at least with these just pun after pun. And that's fine. That's fine. Take what you will from that. Many jokes. It was her reaction to it because as soon as it had fully wound down, she called me and said, "That was, in my opinion, the best conversation I have ever taken part in my life." She was so proud of herself that I don't know whether it made me more proud or more horrified, but I can only attribute at least some of it to the exposure that she's gotten to you all in the last year and a half listening in when you cut loose. Because
I am happy to take blame and or praise for that.
I mean,
at least my fraction of it. I mean,
I will occasionally drop a pun, but nothing to the extent that things just go and go and go and go and go like that. So
Where did we not find the slotted spoon?
I have no idea.
quite impressive. Anyway, hang on 1 second. We'll get rolling. Sorry, family just got home, so I had to get caught up on current events. Most of which has to do with complaining about the fact that they had to drive through snow.
Yeah,
right.
I'm sure it was sticking to the roads.
It's not the interference with driving that's the problem. It's the indignation.
Moral, yeah.
Yeah, it's the moral indignation of it. How dare it? At long last, how dare it? So
this is the first time I've looked outside in 4 hours. This explains why I've been feeling so bad all day.
Oh, the weather? Yes.
Uh-huh.
Go home, Colorado. You're drunk.
Yeah. My wife, go home, Colorado. You're drunk. All right. When we last tuned in to the adventures of our intrepid heroes, well, as we tune back into the adventures of our intrepid heroes, we find Armin sitting in a chair in the cockpit of the ship on various screens of which he's pulled up any number of ship upgrades that could be acquired and slowly whittling them down to just a few fine choices, at which point in time somebody else from the crew comes wandering through, makes an offhand comment about such and such would be nice, and messes up his entire mental calculus, causing him to start over as he begins the whittling process yet again. Where he goes back and reevaluates.
Obviously, he needs color-coded spreadsheets.
Armin doesn't strike me as the color-coded spreadsheets type.
That's why he had to start over.
He strikes me as the kind of person who likes to benefit from color-coded spreadsheets that other people have conveniently presented to him.
I mean, they are much better at it. And it fuels the economy.
They, collectively. They, whoever they are that do those spreadsheets. Vague wave of the hand in the air.
Those spreadsheet people.
So as you recall, we are towards the end of the session, or we wrapped up the session with the need for downtime activities and also the crew leveled. So there is leveling of crewing to do, or rather the ship leveled. So we have options, which I'm going to at least somewhat rely on you all to
So
peruse and or enumerate.
So
Armin.
we are one cred short of being able to afford tier 1 crew.
Which is handy in a number of things. It's really kind of a passive deal, but in a lot of cases what it basically does is just leave you at less of a disadvantage when working against the big dogs on the porch.
I have two options for that.
Last encounter. Came up multiple times during the last encounter.
Certainly,
so.
yes, yeah. And that's just with the fact, I mean, on the grand scheme of things, the wreckers are small fry. I mean, they're tier 1, which is fine, but certainly guys like the syndicate or the Star Forgers or whatever the heck the gate people are, the guys who build the gates and stuff like that, they're like tier 3. The military is tier 3.
The ones that we're racing towards pissing off.
Yes. They're like tier 3. There are a lot of big fish out there, and you are very, very small fish.
I have an important question. So, is this kind of like letting the thief do the books?
Armin? No.
Are we really one cred short?
This is like letting the lawyer do the books. It's financially stable.
I'm not sure if that's better, but carry on. So you said we have options. We have
two options. One is we retroactively not pay upkeep,
which is I'm fine with. I mean,
which
hand wavy
is a chance. It's a small chance.
It's a pretty small chance
that something bad will happen to the ship. And Bill's got all these nice abilities in order to take care of the ship if it breaks.
If it acts up, which is true.
That is
as long as Kay's not the one rolling.
Yeah. So, 2, we can take out a loan.
Ooh. I mean, every single part of me cringes at that, not as the GM, but just as me personally.
So,
the upkeep is blah, 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 blah. And then sometimes you don't have the funds or just don't want to spend the funds to upkeep your ship. In that case, roll dice equal to the number of upkeeps you've skipped. So basically you roll 1 dice. And it's kind of flat. It's a 50-50 chance that something... So on a 1 to 3, the wear and tear on the ship is minor and won't affect performance on the next job. A 4 to 5, the system malfunctions, but it's minor. You can rig a solution while you're in the field. So that'll be an unpleasant but not particularly horrifying surprise. A 6, turns out the system is badly damaged. You can repair it with a downtime activity the next time you're in port. And the rigging would be figuring out some sort of way of just sort of limping along. So
all these sound endurable to me. So yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, and also worst case scenario, I mean, bad, even if bad stuff happens, as Armin points out, it finds you well equipped to deal with it. So we can retroactively not pay off the ship, not upkeep the ship. That gives you enough cred for the crew upgrade up to level 1.
Yes.
Which doesn't necessarily speaking make you... I would say at this point you are now small fish in a big ocean. Before this,
it makes us less disadvantaged.
Yeah. Before this, you were krill. Now you're small fish.
I like to think this puts us on par with the wreckers. After all, they have, like we're equivalent. They had a headquarters, and we don't have a headquarters. So I mean, we're comparable. Right?
Yeah. They actually. And I should have been doing this earlier, but I certainly can now. I'm going to roll. You know what? I'm just going to use the fate thing right here. And I'm going to roll 2 dice. And bloop. Okay. I'm tracking like the wreckers' sort of quest to achieve their personal goals, and you guys have done quite a bit to sort of advance that, if you like. So we're kind of moving that bit along, because they're getting closer to having the ship kind of functional. So kind of move that along. And that was really the only major faction that was sort of involved last session, so don't worry about that. All right, so it sounds like we have moved up to crew level 1. Outstanding. Yep. Great.
I've made the relevant changes to the sheet.
Awesome. All right. And barring that, the other stuff we've got going on. So when we last left, you guys were getting back to the ship, having both worked against and with the wreckers simultaneously in the same mission while they knew about it, which is a good trick to pull off.
Oh no, they enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one to explain. It sounds pretty complicated in theory, but in practice, really not that big of a deal.
We buy them drink. Everybody happy.
Yeah. So, and that leaves you guys with a.
Oh, how many people are on this station? How many drinks that is?
One. We find ourselves back in the ship with one crazy Frem, slightly damaged, and the rest of you, I think, stressed to various degrees, maybe, from last time.
Yeah, I'm stressed.
Harmon's a little stressed. Bay is very stressed. Drifter can stand to take a little time off.
Is there like a pleasure planet? Is there like a Ryza here? Can we go someplace to take like a nice day, like a nice day spa episode?
A nice day spa episode. Well, because we did burn a bunch of. I mean,
do a cupcake competition with Jeff Goldblum.
We're not going to bring Jeff Goldblum in yet. I need to put him in charge of an entire system first.
So there's a gladiatorial arena, is what I'm hearing.
Let me see.
I don't want to go there.
You're pardoned from life.
We've rescued Kay and Crazy Frem. Got Breaking Bread taken care of. Aleph is toxic gas and mineral rich. That's not that fun. Warren is. I mean, if you got the money to spend, is a fine place to spend it.
Hold on. We've all seen, I hope, Fifth Element.
Sure.
We just go to the ocean planet and just sort of hang out there for a little bit.
Where is the ocean planet? Which remind me.
Mem.
Oh, that's Mem. It's right over in Holt. Conveniently. Oh, yes. Yes. Says Crazy Friend. Mem, excellent idea. Holt, even better. Definitely go that way. We should definitely. And then he sort of, like, halfway through that sentence, kind of passes out.
It's sounding like good idea.
Good. Drifter, do you still have the fishing rods?
Yes.
Right.
I mean, got to be careful there. But, all right. So, yeah, Ocean Planet. I love it.
I was going to say, I just have this nice image of us sitting on top of the ship while it's like
Floating?
On top of the water, just like fishing.
Welcome to Fluston Paradise. Anyway, okay. So we have a pile of downtime activities. I think everyone has at least 2. I believe Armin has 3. And
I think Bill has 3 as well.
Does Bill have 3 now?
But for very specific things.
For very specific.
I have my normal 2 downtime activities, and I can spend 1 on repair.
And I will see right now whether or not we need to spend 1 on repair by checking that little fortune dice that we need to check for the ship, just to see how that goes. Also kind of indicates how the landing is going to go, I suppose. So we'll roll the fortune dice over here on the ship.
Congratulations, brand new mission. Salvage our own ship from the ocean.
I mean... Whoop, whoop. Oh, a 2. Minor dings and stuff. Nothing particularly untoward.
So we need to get the blaster pivots buffed out of the door.
Yeah, it's none of it's too very bad at all. Now, and I also remember if we had, yeah, so the wreckers they understand you want a little bit of time. I mean, after 3 days, fish and guests tend to stink, so they understand that you're ready to go. But at least one of them, who did I make your contact for the wreckers? Before you leave, let's get his face up here. Here
Wasn't he one of the ones on the dock?
The
dock master or not the
Mesh Kalarn. Nope. Mechanic.
Ooh.
Did that pop up for you guys?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Mesh Kalarn, before you head out. Yeah. So you need a little bit of away time. A little bit of, we had a good time. Everyone's, you pretty much in most people's good graces, but there's a few people that aren't so happy. A few days away wouldn't be so bad, but when you get yourselves cooled off, chilled out, relaxed, everyone's ship shape again, give us a call. We got a little bit of, we got another little job for you. It's profitable, possibly a little complicated, but generally probably right up your alley. So. At least we hope. So why don't you guys get back in touch with us as quick as you can, if you don't mind. We'd appreciate it, collectively. And I think another mission with them would actually get you guys up to, like, level 3 with them, maybe.
Tier 3.
Tier 3, pretty good stuff.
Which starts the end game.
So that... Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting. Well, they have stuff that they want to get moving on anyway, so that's all to the good. So, downtime activities. We have stuff like acquire an asset, craft, indulging a vice, indulging a vice to get rid of some of that stress, laying low to cool down the system stuff, long-term projects, of which we have still a few, recover, in case anybody still needs some doctrine. Repair, which we don't necessarily do right now, and train. Anybody have something they particularly have lined up that they want to take care of? Do speak up.
Yeah, I got a indulge vice and recover because I've got level 1 harm.
Oh, you got level 1 harm. Okay, cool. So the recover, if I remember correctly, is you spending the downtime, but it's in your best interest probably to have Sun do the doctor role. If I am not mistaken. Is that right?
If I remember correctly, I think level 1 harm just sort of goes away.
The crew member
can do a recovery.
I think. Oh, so when you recover, you seek treatment and heal your harm. You might visit the doctor, can stitch your wounds. A crew member can roll their doctor action instead if they tend your wounds. The healer doesn't take the recover action. Healing is mostly rest. You can retreat yourself, but it will cost blah, blah, blah. When you receive treatment from the recover action, clear all level 1 harm. Done. And the roll is really just whether or not, it's all about advancing the clock on healing the longer stuff, and you don't have a clock for your injuries. So really, it's just taking the action to clear off that harm for the level 1 stuff.
I'll do that then.
That is easy peasy as far as that goes. Is anybody else injured as such? I don't know why.
I've got stress, but
yeah, that's
but nothing that needs to be recovered.
Kay has a blaster graze and
Sorry,
a lump on the head.
I was on mute.
Yeah. So Kay has a blaster graze and a lump on the head. But again, no real roll required. This is just rest and recuperation. I prescribe you several pina coladas and a deck chair.
There.
Which, sounds pretty good to me.
And I have an occasion to wear my straw hat, as in my image.
The straw is more of a, liquid sucking straw. So, Kay, are you taking one of your advances to get rid of that stuff, just for the sake of doing it? Get yourself cleared out.
I just take that out.
Yep, you just take off lump in the head and blaster graze, and that's one of your downtimes. It gets rid of both of them. So, is anybody else? I don't think anybody else picked up any dents and dings.
No,
Like Prim.
we used the monster shield.
Would you, though, do me a favor of a doctor roll for seeing to Crazy Frim, if you wouldn't mind. I am, unless you want to save that until we get back into the.
No, that's fine.
All right, so. Yeah. Okay.
Crazy Frim was being uncooperative.
I love that.
I recommend
to-
bleeding.
I had to spend a lot of time cleaning him off first.
Okay, he has a
A protective dirt covering.
I was gonna say 6 layers of protective grunk.
issues with doctors too. Okay, so he's gonna take a little bit of while. Now, if I remember, let me just look at his thing. 1 to 3 is 1. Yeah, he's gonna take a while. Yeah, so he's not gonna heal fast because he honestly did more. Like he was struggling so much that it actually sort of, it hardly did any good. It did a little bit, obviously, but yeah, if he keeps that up, if he keeps this kind of behavior up, it's going to take bloody ages to get him back on his feet. But be that as it may, it did at least see to him. All right. What is Drifter? What is the gambling situation on Mem for you? How do you go about your nefarious activities? Well, nefarious.
Nefarious sounds so
It does.
doggone evil. It's
Your
not.
what is the nature of your completely harmless, victimless extracurricular activity on Mem? Is it more of a sports betting kind of thing? Is it more of a is there a floating casino?
Well, let's read the background from the book. This ocean planet was colonized by the hegemony for almost 100 years before aquatic xenos made themselves and their planetary claims known. Hegemonic forces broke the Memish military and incorporated them into the hegemony. Exploration of Mem has proven difficult because of the freestanding gravity wells deep beneath the waves.
Freestanding gravity wells. That sounds fascinating to me.
The deeps are littered with Ursites and strange glows. One in the deeps using a tune for long-term projects grants +1 die, but low rolls may attack dangerous way attention. The scene is that hegemonic officials in sashes talking with Memish labor bosses, see-through spires rising from the underwater government palace to open-air pavilions, tourists embarking on submersibles to take in the local sea life, scientists in exosuits. There's all kinds of things going on here.
Yeah.
What I'm feeling is kind of a like a tension between the hegemonic government and the locals, but I think that there's probably some sort of like local games that have become like the tourist attraction. Like the native Xenos here play this thing, and the white people come in and are like, "Hey, look at this! We're gonna," So I think that Drifter is probably not so much like just doing conventional gambling, games of chance, as he is kind of sports betting, but he's taking advantage of the fact that he's got his eyes open and he's kind of in on the con, even though he's not part of organized crime around here.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So probably some shows of physical prowess. Also attunement type of thing. So it's one of the ones that actually draws a lot of attention. I don't know why I just laughed. My own thought made me giggle. So have you ever watched, either in person or televised, like dog shepherding competitions?
Yeah.
Or simply watched Babe, I suppose would do. Damn
so that's what I was going to bring up.
So there's similar. One of the most heavily contested local things is sort of kind of like that with fish schools. I'm total shout out here to Aquaman, I guess. Using attunement rolls, and it's sort of a combination of fish mind control, attunement rolls, shepherding competitions, and synchronized swimming. And this stuff is bet on at a number of different, like, there's a number of different facets of betting on it. For form, the most obvious ones, really the beginners tier for this is placement in the final scoring and stuff like that. But there's, best in show, best in class, side bets on artistic and stuff, which leads to fistfights because some of that becomes super subjective and all that kind of stuff. And you can get really down into, as they say, down in the deeps on this one. So that's one. There's races, which may draw your attention. I'm picturing kind of like the little underwater vehicle that they use in Phantom
Naboo.
Menace. Yeah. But they're doing it around like the spires and stuff like that, and kind of doing. Drifter, you would recognize this as kind of like using gravity wells to kind of accelerate. It's sort of a combination of that and like using the edge of a whirlpool to accelerate, with some of the same potential problems. So there's races like that, like sort of not really straight out speed races, but obstacle course races and things like that, that are televised with carefully placed like camera drones and viewers booths, that sort of thing.
Yeah, sounds good.
I think either one of those. One of them's a little bit more nuanced, but it's kind of like, like betting on chess almost. It's really contemplative and very quiet, with like every so often like a long, like you'll see people who are watching the thing are like really not even. It doesn't really seem like they're watching like the televised events, and suddenly there's this long protracted release of like sigh that releases tension throughout the room, like and it's almost like a card game or something like that played out at like 8 times reduced speed. I can't decide if that would be even more of a payoff for him, or the buildup of tension makes it like, I suppose we can find out.
I think the tension comes from partially conning hegemonic military people out of their money here, because that's.
So it's not all the anticipation?
Oh no,
not entirely. We're still ticking along there. Okay, in that case, why don't we do your stress roll and see where we land? I need to get back over to Drifter. Bloop. Ooh, that's annoying.
No, that's fine. I actually get to modify the roll by +or -2, so I'm going to take off 3 stress.
That's okay. Oh, great then.
Armin's gonna get in on some of this too.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Now yours is more of like vice for the sake of luxury and stuff like that. So while you might be gambling, what is it that's also happening along here that's like that sort of decadent?
Little drinks with tiny umbrellas. And I say, Drifter's like trying to like take advantage of the hegemony culture that's kind of like stuck itself onto this planet.
Okay. So
Armin's being part of that.
Okay, so it isn't so much because there's a bit of memish culture that has to do with these really tiny little, like, uh, almost like scallops or something like that, that about the size of Tide Pods that are like puffer fish. Like, if prepared correctly, extremely delicious delicacy. If prepared incorrectly, deadly poison. Um, which, as opposed to Tide Pods, which are always just deadly poison. Um, but that's not what you're about the imported culture that you're kind of wallowing in. Is that accurate?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and tiny bastardizations of their Tide Pod puffer fish.
So like the safe versions of those that the more careful nobles are likely to
Mostly
indulge in.
safe.
Mostly safe. Almost entirely nice picture of the ship on the water, by the way. That is
Thank you.
way fishing. Very nice. Okay. That's pretty good. I gotta save that one. That's pretty good. All right.
Whew.
Ooh, look at you with the 6 on the vice. And I didn't. I think everybody has enough that they can handle a 6. But I might be wrong. Where's Armin at?
No, I can. I just wanted to double check something here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What?
Oh, I was just wondering if I could still take advantage of Bill's special ability.
An ally who joins you may do the same. So yes.
Well, yes, but if I
You're
could have
too
taken
close.
that 5, if I could have
Yeah.
taken that 5 instead of the 6, but it has to be the highest die.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're too close to.
Oh well.
If
This
you really,
is, this is the lowest I've been on stress since the first game.
if on top of everything else you also were indulging in the gambling, things would probably get out of hand. Which is exactly how that would look. Okay. So we'll keep moving around. We'll loop back into Armin here in a second, see what else we got going on. What about Kay? After she's feeling a little bit better, got that graze patched up, headache's gone finally. You've got, I think your long-term goal, your long-term research has kind of come to fruition, which we're going to dive into once we got out of the other stuff.
Yeah, so I think that
which isn't to say you can't start another long-term goal, certainly.
we have the whole learn the Starbreaker's motive off to the side, and
Oh yeah,
that has to do with Frim.
that was Frim and that sort of thing. But I mean, really, we can just make that a long-term project and kind of shift it. Honestly,
I think that would be good.
All right,
If that's okay.
Yeah, it's absolutely fine with me. So we'll make that a long-term project. We'll kind of shift it over here near Crazy Frem since we've
Perfect.
kind of associate there. And of course, I closed the book right when I needed it.
And since I'm using one to get rid of my knock on my head, the other is going to go towards. So I'm not going to have anything that's going to tick towards that right now.
Okay, so let me just double check here. Wait, I'm not sure what beeped. Okay. So just I want to double check because we're talking about the long term thing, but I didn't know whether or not you've got stress to get rid of. Oh, you have a lot of stress to get rid of.
Yeah, that's why I said I'm not going to be rolling anything to advance that.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll kind of keep that over there just in case. But in the meantime, vice, and your vice is sort of waste stuff. Anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean it's a form of pleasure seeking.
Sure.
Or it's weird in just exploring the way. This sounds like a great place for me to.
Indeed, the memish are in general quite. I mean, throughout the sector, certainly everyone's. I mean, it's not like the Jedi. Everyone can attune to a greater or lesser degree, but the memish certainly celebrate that quite a bit.
I mean, given that they're on. Anyways, probably.
Yeah.
Self.
So okay. You have so basically all you really have to do is hit your indulge vice. Now it's um because of the way the indulge vice thing works, it automatically has you rolling your lowest stat, which is your insight, sort of your hack, your rig, your study. So there's a lot of sort of it's for whatever reason however you want to the angle that you have on reducing this is sort of intellectual one way or the other. So you're kind of diving into the study side of things to kind of.
I mean, and it may be wandering around local memish temples and to get people to talk to me, or maybe
Does Frim factor into this at all? Like questioning him to find out more about what's going on with him? He's kind of bedridden, so he's a bit of an immobile target at least. I don't know if that's a direction.
Well, I mean, that's definitely an option, but I think I'd be more drawn to just the uniqueness of the thing. I may sort of ask Frim why he thought this was a good place to be before I head out.
Sure.
So give me a nod towards what I want to do.
Yeah. Before why did you think this was a good idea? And he kind of gives this bit of it somehow manages to be a sleepy smile and a mad smile at the same time. He said, "Oh, if you go,
aren't you stupid?"
Yes, if you go, sir, if you go looking, I think the answer will present itself. So,
well, since I was planning on doing anyways.
Yeah.
Go out looking.
Go out looking. And so just hit the indulge vice button to let us know how that's going to turn out for you.
Didn't come up.
It didn't.
Oh, right. Never mind. I have my character one, separate. So
that's quite a good indulge roll. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Should I take that off on my side?
Please. I think you just have to click where it would end up. So,
there we go. 2.
Very nice.
I can live with 2.
Quite literally. Yeah. All right. Who hasn't done stuff? Monster.
Monster.
Either of you. So let's get Monster.
Go ahead. If you got something, James. I have something too, but
James was AFK for a moment.
Oh no, I wasn't AFK. Bill was.
So that's Bill.
Oh.
Yeah. So,
oh no, I wouldn't want to interfere with Monster.
Monster,
really?
What do you got going on?
Monster is learning how to fish. This is both prowess training and indulging in fascinating new tastes.
Okay. Since they all tie in together, we'll probably have you do both of those things just back to back. But first, let's do, so the prowess training is just prowess training. Now, is the ship, what does the ship give us bonuses to? Does it give us bonuses to prowess? I feel like it does. Let me look.
I think it does.
Hold on a second.
It is
It is prowess and personal.
Prowess and personal. So you get 2 XP dings for that monster.
Okay.
For the training. So that's 2 ticks into your prowess. And then, oh, very nice. Look at that filling up.
Uh-huh.
Quite exciting. And big fish out here. Let's find out how tasty they are. I'm almost afraid to find out. Dave, how do you feel about playing Crazy Frim for the rest of the session?
I've played worse.
For those of you who have ever read or played Amber before, Dave texted me during the middle of I think it was last session, it might have been the session even before, where he's like, "Oh my God, it's Dworkin." I don't know that he's wrong. So, Monster. Oh, I gotta see this picture here. Monster learning to fish. Nice. All right. So let's have that.
They do not have open bodies water on the home world.
I thought your world was mostly water.
No, it's mostly an atmosphere, which is why there's fungus everywhere.
Yeah. Damp, but not.
Damp. tools, but you can just reach in and grab. Well, they don't really have. Yeah. Anyway.
So, much like K, the your vice indulgent role is reliant somewhat on your introspection and study and your ability to kind of like intellectually analyze what it is, what you've got going, which is to say it's relying on your insight. That's less good news for you than it is for K, unfortunately. But on the upside, you don't really want a 6 because it would overindulge you. So hit it.
I rolled a 5.
You rolled a 1.
Well,
yeah.
Oh, take the lowest result.
Yeah,
above.
because you're untrained.
Although it says clear an amount of stress equal to the highest die result.
Well, that's how the vice die rolls. But since you're unskilled, you take the lowest.
Oh, okay.
Roll.
So I take off 1.
Yeah. The text you read, if the result of your vice roll means you clear more stress level, you overindulge, clear an amount. That's just the indulge vice thing. But your dice result up above in the blue tells you which dice to take off. So while somewhat relaxing, doesn't really apparently fish, or at least the fish you were able to catch, absent additional flavoring other than what you already had on the ship, not as exciting as you might have hoped in terms of taste.
Tastes like fish. Yes, tastes like fish.
Unsurprising. This one also tastes like fish.
Why is everything tasting like fish?
Because they're fish. But this one was red. It should taste red. Anyway.
This one was big. Had to punch in head several times. Why only tastes like fish?
So relaxing, but not as relaxing as it might otherwise. Next time I fish, bring hot sauce. And honey. All right.
And there's
Cocoa powder.
colored coolant fluid that has most interesting aroma.
Yeah. Okay, son. What have you got going on?
So while kind of taking a look at Crazy Frim, I found quite a few interesting bugs and parasites latched on. So for my training, I'm going to, investigate them.
And what is that? Like, what are you?
I'm, investigating or looking at them. I managed to dig up some kind of microscope.
Okay.
And looking in kind of collection of books.
What is this in aid of? Are you training up
Insight?
You're training up insight.
Yeah.
I see. That's excellent. Okay, so we'll put it. Well, I'll mark a tick there in insight as you use Crazy Frim as something of a lab experiment or lab rat, I guess, more than anything.
Hey, if I'm able to find a new species of bug on him, I'll name it after him.
They're like, you see this? What is that? This is Bulgarian head lice. So they're not usually visible without a microscope, he says, holding it between his forefinger and thumb. Oh, I see. Also, oh my God. And for your other magic trick, what are you doing?
I was going to do some of the work on my project, medical system.
Certainly a very interesting place to get some resources here. They've got hospitals.
This was me trying to find a microscope.
Very interesting resources here. Lots of very interesting drugs. Some great medical techniques. Possibly less distributed amongst the sector. all that kind of good
Did he
stuff.
mention the great natural drugs from the biosphere?
Apparently, he's letting the stress sit for this one, so that's fine. In that case, I think.
I forget what role that is.
I think. Well, it's. It could be doctor. It could be study. I kind of feel like it's study. Probably more than, I mean, it's you're using your medical expertise, but you're not doctoring as such. You're really studying the you're kind of studying the option, the resources available and picking up what makes the most sense. So I think it's probably going to be a study role.
Okay.
All right. And we shall see where we end up on that. That is a 3, and I believe I think that moves your clock 1.
Okay.
So not a huge advance, but you do pick up some interesting. Talk to me about these little pufferfish. What are the side effects, and what is an overdose? Is there such a thing as a useful dose, and that sort of thing. So picking up some interesting.
Yeah, I think I'll take some of these.
Yeah.
Weren't you looking for medical supplies?
Yeah. So
I'm for Monster. I'm sure anything could be medical supplies.
Yeah. Oh, he's got a wound. Just jam one of the fish in it and squeeze its tail really hard. It'll numb it up. Trust me, it'll numb it up. Is it going to kill him? Yeah, not as big as he is, probably. I'm sure it'll be fine. How hard do I squeeze? I just put it all in there. Just squeeze it till it dies.
I got a dozen more back on the ship.
Monsters? No, fish. What are you? He's gonna be fine. I told you he'd be fine. All right.
A dozen? You think we could get these ship would survive with a dozen monsters?
Only if they were in cryostasis. Drifter was gambling, and what was his other? What else was it? Else did he have going on? Or did we take care of that already?
Recover.
Oh, recover. Got that taken care of. K is taken care of. Armin has a couple left. Is that right? I believe Armin has a couple left. What do we got, Armin?
I think that let's see. So I've recovered some stress.
Rin's a little hot, so that might be a thing.
I mean,
a little hot. You're becoming known.
What do I? Yeah, my bonus action is acquire acid or lay low. So
yeah, and lay low is the one that reduces the heat in a certain area.
Yeah, so I mean, we did go to another system.
You are in a different system. That's correct.
It might be worthwhile to just be like, lay low for a bit.
That sounds just fine. I mean, that might be as simple as sending a message back saying, we're definitely getting, sort of reassuring the records that you'll be back.
Oh yeah, we'll be back. Everything's fine. We're
you
fine.
Just send him a picture of Monster, noodling and say, we'll be back when we find Monster's hand.
I mean, amusing to them, probably not entirely wrong. Okay, so do you have to roll on that? Yeah, reduce heat. No, I don't think you do have to roll.
Yeah, well, I think I have.
So say what your character does to reduce heat while hiding. Oh, I guess roll an appropriate action. That's really weird how that's written. Reduce heat in the system by 2. If you're wanted, add segments to the wanted reduction clock. So you really only roll if you're trying to reduce the wanted clock. Otherwise, the heat just goes down by 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we don't really have to roll because the heat just drops. Because you aren't in a wanted situation.
Yeah, which is why I'm kind of been like, lowering your heat's really only great if you're already wanted.
I mean, it keeps you from being wanted.
Yeah.
All right, but you still have. I mean, it's free, so why not? Really. And you don't even need to roll. You just kind of go tick, and down you go. A couple of calls, a little bit of reassurance, virtual pat on the back for whoever might be. I mean, it's a callback to your friend with the docking authority back there at the wreck, and everyone thinks you're great.
Wait, is their station called the Wreck?
No, it's well, I think it's referred to on here as the Husk on the map. I'm assuming that's what it is.
That's not much of an improvement, though.
No, I mean they're the wreckers, so but that's why I was thinking the wreck, but it's the Husk. It's it's meant with affection. Probably. Maybe.
Only if you're the only people who say that is if you're a wrecker. If you're not a wrecker and you say that, then then you can be offended.
Them's fighting words.
Exactly.
Only I can like my mama jokes about my mama.
And what else have you got, Armin? What's your last thing?
We're gonna work on a long-term project.
Oh, right. The
Yes.
the beautification of Armin. Sir Armin of Sanhandra.
Yep. So
what does that look like? Because I really want to know what skills
so
going
I think
into
on
this.
our way over, it was just like, okay. So next part of this is I have to. What would be like the next part? It'd be something like, I have to make a claim on an area.
Yeah.
And
I mean, is there any benefit really to being in?
To like be seen, saving kittens or something first to polish up your image?
Not for Sanhandra. I mean, that's not. Yeah. That might be seen as being overly keen. Trying a bit too hard. But what does that next step look like?
I feel like that is going to be something like, I'm going to do this in the true noble way. As we're on our way to Mem, as we were passing by, we just sort of shot off a probe from the ship.
With like basically a tiny little flag that the probe lands and pops out the little flag and waves in the air like.
Yep.
And
it's like, as long as nobody finds it for the next 60 days or something like that, it will be, I'll have some legitimate claim.
Virtual squatting rights. I like it. That is good. That is good stuff. I'm going to say you probably like this. You may not like it for the role, but you'll probably appreciate it for the art of it. This is a skulk roll.
Oh, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Obscure placement on the planet. Someplace that nobody's going to spot.
All right. And
this is I'm getting hardcore flashbacks to EVE Online and where you put your in space stationary storage bins in the middle of a system so nobody can scan them down when you're living in a wormhole. Anyway.
So this is going to sound silly, but I am pushing myself on this one.
So you're going to take 2 stress to get an extra dice on the skulk roll? Okay.
Yeah. And I needed it.
Yeah, you got that 4 though. I think that gives you 2. Pretty sure that gives you 2 forward on the clock. And I will adjust appropriately. Choose a side, and we will tick that up to 4. Halfway there.
And now we play the waiting game.
Well, there's still other things that can be happening. While this is happening, there's some other stuff. Because even if it goes, I mean, technically it's true. And, Armin kind of going and say, technically it's true that I have the claim. But if you don't have enough people on your side, they can find all kinds of loopholes in that. So you really need to get enough people on your side so now the claim will be honored. Of course, it can't be found, but it still needs to be honored. And sometimes if you have enough friends on it, even if it is found, we can kind of act like it wasn't. So yeah, much to be done. Much to be done on your march to nobility, quasi nobility.
Quasi legitimate nobility.
Yep. All right, I think that wraps up the downtime. We had a big 6 on stress relief from K. And while it was so, do you think it was a memish temple or sort of a so going back to, I mean, the place was, indigenous, intelligent life forms.
I have found in the past that some of the best information comes from bars and brothels. So,
truly
pilgrim and visit the temples, when you go out the back door of the temple and turn right, usually there's either a bar or a brothel. And that's where you get the information that you really want.
So you're looking for a bar or brothel, like a significant criteria is a bar or brothel near a temple. Like you need the temple. You need the temple adherent overrun that shows up at the nearest watering hole that you're going to. Okay. So it is, ironically, not a memish person who ends up in this sort of drunken rant about this. You study memish culture, memish history, and you go to the museums, and it's all cultural appropriation. Colonizers coming in, they're experts on it, even though they've only been here for less than 100 years. They managed to hide from us for more than 100 years. Around 100 years. That's the point. The point is, they managed to hide from us for that long. We only ever found out they were here when they decided to tell us. But we decided that we're experts because we wrote a lot of it down. But then the temples, they leave those alone. And what are the temples? The temples are above water, where the memish didn't even live. Because if they had lived above water, we'd have found them. But now there's all these glass spires that are supposed to be memish architecture. But if they're memish architecture, why weren't they here until they decided to, and then we're working with them, and now that you know what it is? They're just appeasing us. This is just the show. Everything.
Disneyland for the tourists.
This is Disneyland for the tourists. I mean, that's not what he says, but this is an amusement park. I don't even think, so they broke their army. Do you know how big an ocean is? Oceans are big. You know how big a planet is? Planets are big. This is an ocean. That's a whole planet. Do you really think we broke their army? Broke their army. That is colonizer talk. What we have is we're living in the atrium, where they've put a lot of squishy, squeaky toys for us to look at, while they get on with living in the rest of the house. And more power to them. More power to them. Because we're just interlopers. And this guy's going on. I mean, this is the effect of it heightened somewhat by the fact that he is in full academic regalia. You're gonna say third-year grad student? But he's also like festooned with amulet, bracelet, various kinds of things. It's like this stuff, and he shakes the bracelet, thing. It's Chosky's. Why would you ever have a necklace or a bracelet underwater? It's literally a drag. Like, it's a drag. I have them. I'm really just wearing this ironically. I also they're I mean, don't get me wrong. They're very pretty. I like it, but I don't believe for a second it's actually truly memish culture. Not really. Not really. No, if you want to go, if you want to see even a hint of what the real deal is, go to the temple, then go to the basements. Go something under the waterline. Then maybe. Or go to one of the undersea tours. But even then, it's what do you call them? Roller coaster. Child's ride. River of Love. They're just taking you on a thing to show you. It's a tour through the garden.
What you think you need to see.
And he points at you like three times in succession, just looking at you, going, and finally, like on the fourth one, exactly. Like his brain's got to catch up with actually pointing. But I'll tell you what, some of you bring. What I'm saying is bring an artifact, something good, down under the water and see what reacts. And then, not on a tour, or, hire somebody hungry looking. Someone who's not part of the... Find one that's not shiny, all dressed up. Especially not one who's dressed like us. And tell them you want to go someplace unusual. And then you take something with you. And see what happens. Because I think you'll see something. But not see something, but see something. Not see, but see. You'll see something. In the ocean. Or the sea. You'll see something in the sea. Ha ha! Ha ha ha! You'll see. You see what I did there?
See what I did?
Because I didn't. I missed that. But anyway. So there. What was your name again? What were you talking about? And it's like
his head hits the table.
And then Kay's like, "Where's the nearest taxi pickup?" "Oh, that's right over." No. Anyway. So that's not necessary. I mean, that's just as relaxing for you, one way or the other. But also,
I espout the appropriate of graduate students who think they know everything.
This guy,
whatever the current hot thing is, too.
It alternates back and forth between like him being fairly new and him being like one of those graduate students who just there's a good possibility he just hasn't graduated because he knows that if he does, his rates are going to go up and he's going to have to find tenure somewhere. So he's just like he's sticking it out as a perpetual like fourth year. Like he's got it's his fourth year, eight years running. Yeah. He's just become an expert, a pseudo expert in a bunch of different stuff. Okay. So, ship. Floating in the middle of nowhere. Well, probably not in the middle of nowhere, but near one of the sort of near one of the sort of floating cities, or at least surface cities, where some of you have spent some time. and can be got back and forth with like sort of the equivalent of a water rickshaw to be ferried back and forth from the ship. Pending for you guys, the wreckers are urgently awaiting your return when you're ready, but I guess what determines ready as far as that goes. Frim's still there, kind of hanging out, making a lot of people wonder what he's doing, and all that kind of stuff. So what is the plan, crew?
Last time around, I'm looking this up, and I don't know where I loaded it to. Go ahead, other people talk while I'm looking this up.
Well, other people talk while Dave looks this up, or we wait until Dave looks it up, because.
So, obviously, I would like to pursue this, and the kind of thought process I'm going through is this something that I want to tell. I'm thinking that this may be something that just me and the doctor might want to go off and do, versus actually tell people so that they can say no. Although I might have to bring Monster along, and
just because he's got the briefcase.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Do I have anything that qualifies as nice?
I have many things that are nice.
In terms of way, I mean the key is certainly the most. I mean, my immediate response is I don't know. Do you? But certainly and they mention this in the book. Once you get down to the deeps, the way energy is pretty crazy. But yeah, it's a tougher sell to say, hey guys, I want to take the Aleph key down to the bowels of the ocean, and
Well, if it will help the tougher sell,
tap it with a tuning fork and see what happens.
Does in the list of interesting places that Monster got from his research project?
Yes.
Were any of them here on Mem?
That is a fine cross-referencing to do there. Yes, indeed. There are several that are just sort of generically. So there's several that are sort of generically interesting. There's one that is both potentially a very good lead and utterly useless, because it's sort of the equivalent of Atlantis. Like, if you could find that place, that's where one of the keys is supposed to be.
Keopolis. The fabulous lost realm of Keopolis.
With a C.
Keopolis under the sea.
But nobody knows where that is.
I said spelled with a C, but that's okay.
Or even if it actually exists, where does it exist, or if it actually exists? Open questions. But no doubt whatsoever that if it exists, it's super important. Which.
Okay, so I have maps and charts.
So you could definitely talk Monster into that, as he would already know. Yes, we might be able to find, and we might. It's kind of like an archaeologist saying, "Hey, would you mind if we bring along the doohickey? Because I'd like to do a little serious archaeological research." And him responding, "Go, yes, we might be able to find the Fountain of Youth finally." Lasai, because it's like.
Perfect.
Also, yes?
I was just going to say, Armin would be totally against this. I, as a player, though, am...
I think this is a terrible idea. You should definitely do it. It said in two different voices. So, yeah, there's definitely, I mean, it's clear to either one of you that Armin's not going to be hugely in favor of this. Is it just Monster and Kay going off to do this and screaming for help later? Or You had mentioned the doctor, but I wasn't sure what specifically you had in mind there for recruiting, other than the sake of having somebody with you.
Because he's got a good study skill.
Although this might be a tune.
Yeah, but if I fry my brain, I'd like him there.
That's an excellent point.
The Egan line. Egon's gone bye-bye.
I'm going to do something. I'm going to do something potentially risky with my gray matter. Would you like to come along and bring some of the drugs that might prevent that from might prevent that stuff from dripping out of my ears?
Absolutely.
Oh, look, I get to actually do something. Stuff?
Yes. Bring along that little backpack. We're going to do something terrible.
Okay, so I have maps and charts, and
I'm not afraid to use them.
And if I don't have one, I will acquire one. What I want to look at is the distribution of the settlements, anything above water around Min, and sort of see if there's like
notable gaps.
Yeah.
A lot of that has been mapped. I mean, it's quickly hand waved away if there are like large areas that, or sort of significant surface areas that don't have a lot of settlements. They're like, they'll be hand waved and say, "Oh, deep ocean." I mean, it's not as though these things float. Obviously, hearty chuckle. No, this is shallow areas, and they've been built up to rise above the surface. Obviously, so there's deep areas. Of course, there aren't going to be settlements there, and that's the standard explanation. But if you look, there's some spots that aren't particularly deep that are not settled, that don't show any of these above surface settlements. Fair number. Well, not even a fair number. There's probably a few that kind of catch your eye, and they're sort of around some deep spaces. You think of them if you just sort of mentally dispel the water, sort of around the coastline, so to speak, of the really deep areas. So how do you go about getting where you want to get?
So it's obviously not a water taxi.
No, more of a like a charter, like the equivalent of a charter fisherman type of.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is there the equivalent of people who, take people out on deep sea fishing?
Sure.
Look for an adventure fishing person who doesn't look like he wants to actually work and take his boat out.
Yeah, there probably has to be because of the gravity wells underwater there. So
yeah, you've got to have
some local has to know the navigation.
Right, but I'm assuming it's also an adventure sport. It's part of that there's people who do that because it's kind of part of the tourist trade for the adrenaline junkies.
And the ones who look like this whole thing is the worst.
So I'm looking for one whose boat actually looks. He does.
Say that again. The boat looks what now?
The boat looks like it's in better shape than the guy is.
Ah, okay.
I'm assuming that the person is the facade, and the ship is actually good enough to get somewhere. That's the type of person I'm looking for.
Okay. All right.
Let Monster negotiate for the rate.
You let Monster. Okay.
He's the one who's fishing, right? 100-pound catfish on your arm yet?
I'm not. I just like eating it like cotton candy wrapped around your own hand.
Did you see the video I put of noodling?
I did. That's terribly disturbing. I mean, I don't want to tell you who should be doing this, but it's really a sway roll, and that's kind of you.
I didn't know if it was like intimidate, but yeah, sway will work.
Intimidation always works.
It could be if the guy really isn't that interested.
No, I got it. I will do the negotiations, but I'm negotiating for Monster.
I see.
Right? So I got my straw hat and my baggy clothes on.
Which certainly it absolutely gives you an option there, Monster, for you to help if you're so inclined, by being scary and toothy.
Just looking appropriately adventuresome, sporty. So we have so he kind of fills in our excuse for doing this.
I look tough and ready to do this. I gotta look at James's thing here. Oh no. Oh, the Atlanta song. Oh my god.
That's why he's bad.
And I'm looking at Sun here.
What's wrong with that?
As opposed to Dave, who's been like farming the deeps of Aquaman.
That is some good stuff there.
I was also doing Aquaman, but then you complained about stuff that was outside my control.
So, all right. So, so the sort of the approach to this thing is sort of a sway, which K has a 2 in. Don't really have gambits as such to mess with. You can push if you're inclined. Monster if you want to help. You can take a stress and add a dice to that. Sun, same thing. I'm not sure what your angle would be on that, but this might be a you don't need to, certainly. But Monster, if you want, you can assist, or we can simply stand on the 2 dice.
I will go ahead and assist. Now, if I'm trying to do that by being scary, does my assistance gain potency?
You're not really working. I mean,
He really wants to fish off of your boat. I would not disappoint him.
I don't think so. Really, that would be your primary deal. But because you're not
just carrying a lot of really heavy looking bags that look like they may have fishing stuff or lunch or
right.
So he's just looking really strong.
Right. Yeah. And it would probably apply, flip the other way around if you were the primary roller. But in this case, you kind of like, that's not the go-to. That's not the move for this one.
All right, tell me the odds.
It's risky. Risky because he's a bit of a shady character. The risk here being that he's going to try to kind of, look at these very interesting deep coral reefs, and it's just going to be kind of like a bullshit destination sort of thing where you don't really get where you're looking for.
I'm just waiting until we're on the boat and away from the dock, and then I'm telling him where we're going.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, the risk there is that he's going to try and not help. I'm thinking of
Monster can help with that part.
I'm thinking of just be helpful in an unhelpful way. I'm thinking of the museum guy who's secretly part of the secret organization in the Mummy.
Oh, the map is burning up.
Oh, how could that have happened? Oh, it's probably just as well.
Wait.
That kind of thing. That's really the risk here is that he may be that person or act that way either inadvertently or entirely purposefully. So that's kind of the risk there. And we'll say standard since the results are, potentially just standard.
Right.
3 dice, risky standard. We'll get back over here where we can see. Look at that. Nice 6.
I guess I will roll again.
You
Making it for 3 episodes of not rolling.
Of not rolling well, no. Excellent. Okay, so let's get that. And so he's kind of set his route a certain way, and he's talking a little bit about some very interesting fishing that can be had. Again, we're talking, these deep coral reefs attract some very interesting things. Certain kinds of eels, the size of my ship. It's really all in how we, electrify the water in this area. My people back in the day, before we got some of the technology, used to accomplish this. And it's like, okay, listen, this is what we're really about. Okay, we've got this, and we've got little taps outside of the case. We want to do a little bit of some weigh experiments. We know what we're about, and we know where we want to go. And it pulls out the chart. And he just kind of stares at it in a way that really, an unblinking way that only the mem can really manage. And, well, this day just got a whole lot more interesting. And he kind of, heals this thing. It's, it's a submersible kind of deal that it kind of goes in sort of a hydroplane sort of thing. This is the tech, but the core of the thing is really kind of a submersible. Actually, I'm gonna disregard the hydroplane thing, because these guys would never have developed that on their own. The proper memish ship is going to be largely underwater. And he heals that thing around and says, okay, this is going to take a few hours, but we will get there. Just to be clear, we're not actually caring about the fishing right now. That was all just getting me off, out of earshot of everyone. I don't want to.
Well,
I don't want to.
I kind of nod my head backwards towards Monster, and I'm like, well, he'll eat anything. So if there's anything you want to pick up on the way, we can. But no, that's not my primary interest.
Depending on how good you are actually with this thing, he might have the opportunity to go do a little bit of fishing anyway. So let's see how that goes. But yeah, for right now, I'm not going to worry about that. I just want to make sure that there wasn't two things I needed to worry about here. I didn't want anybody to be. I'm still getting paid, right? All right. As long as that's the case, then fine. All right. A couple hours go by. He's just really going to try to get you to the nearest, I'm going to say, shoreline of the deep that's in the area that you're talking about, where it's uninhabited shallows and this, sort of drop off into, sort of a Marianas Trench situation, the size of Australia. Where he sets you up there and he says, okay, now whatever you've got in there isn't going to break my ship down into its component parts while we're inside of it and, far below survivable depth for the three of you. Is it? I mean, I suppose if it were, you wouldn't do it, but
No, it's much friendlier than that.
It's not a weapon?
Nope.
All right. Well, I guess have at it.
Does he appear to have like any kind of sense of like how strong it is, or is he just really asking those questions? Is he asking the questions because he wants to know, or is he asking the questions because he wants to know if we know?
I mean, you have you have intimated that you have a way artifact in a suitcase in his ship and want to do stuff with it. It's his ship. He, wants to know that you're not about to fire off a thus far unidentified, God, what were those blasters called from the 500 years, the lost 500 years, Dave? I can't remember those things. But anyway, I mean,
vortex blasters.
Vortex blaster. Yeah, he wants to know that you're not going to fire off some thus far unidentified vortex blaster inside of his ship, because holes in the hull at this depth may offend. As far as that goes. So, but as he's willing to take you at your word on this. It's an interesting enough prospect, and the memish are in general, receptive enough to this kind of thing. Just in general, the sort of way experimentation and that sort of thing. It's one of the. There's some of them are fairly secretive about it. I mean, as evidenced by certain things, but in any case. So, what does this look like? What are you gonna do? Is it at its core about an attunement roll, or studying the result of the like the resulting
remember that we had been working on, sort of that idea of identifying the connectivity between the key and other keys.
Mm-hmm.
So it isn't so much about the attunement roll as it is about like studying the result. So to speak.
I mean, it's sort of looking, it's observing the way and how it, potentially changes as we get closer to,
or the
a
resonant,
similar artifact might be.
right, the resonant activity of the whole thing, that sort of deal.
And mostly I'm expecting that somebody's going to come up and talk to us.
Okay.
I'm not necessarily expecting that we're just going to go, oh, it's here. Let's dive down to the deeps and retrieve it.
So I'm going to... Yes, sir.
I was going to say, this is starting to sound like this is a job.
I mean, I'm actually already running a clock. But
so we should have gotten gambits.
Well, no. I just said I was running a clock. I wasn't running a job. What are your thoughts on this, Mike?
Well, so personally,
because I was waiting for one more roll and then looping you guys back into this anyway. But do continue because I want to hear what you have in mind.
Yeah, I am just of the opinion where if we are as a group, even if it's not all of the group, because flashbacks are a thing.
Yeah.
If we are off doing something in order for us to acquire something.
Stuff, yeah. It's definitely, it's a job.
Even
then it's a job and we should kind of run it that way.
Even intrinsic stuff.
Yes. Run it like a job.
That sounds like a job.
It's probably a minor job because the clock I'm running is not deep.
Oh.
So it's probably a minor job, but it may get more complicated. I like the idea of... okay. So what
I was just saying that because with them going down into the water, this almost sounds like the engagement part of it.
Oh, that is a really good idea.
Because, and I'll bring this up. I have done jobs where only there was one roll and that was the whole job.
Just because the clock filled up and it was all just a done deal?
No, because it wasn't that involved of a job.
I see. Okay. All right. Let's look at I think this is an excellent point. I want to encourage then Drifter and Armin to speak up if they feel like they can assist on a roll through the use of flashbacks where they have, like, you guys are down in the deep and having assistance from Drifter in the form of like talking about the gravity well racing and that kind of stuff, and like the weird way that Way stuff seemed to be, like they actually use that during the races, which is weird. All that kind of stuff. So that is a fine idea. So let's see where this sets us on this next roll before we get set up here. So major advantages and disadvantage. Is this operation particularly bold or daring? Does this plan's detail expose the vulnerability of the target or hit them where they're weakest? Can any of your friends or contacts provide aid or insight for this operation? I don't think so.
Yeah, because Frim's not a contact.
Yeah,
but he feels like a contact.
I think he does kind of feel like a contact. We might end up putting him on there.
He feels like a friend.
We'll throw a friend. Yeah, certainly a friend. Let's throw a dice on there for that. Are there any other elements that you want to consider? Yes, you are carrying a major artifact that is meant to hunt, that is at least somewhat attuned to other things. So let's throw another dice on there. So that's 3 dice on the engagement roll, and we are doing well, it's certainly a mystic thing. I think we've talked about what the approach is going to look like. So before we get into an actual skill roll, I'm going to have I'm going to have Sun roll this because I actually have an interesting kind of, well, I'm going to have Monster roll this because I'm about to have Sun roll an interesting thing for the next thing that you guys do.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So Monster, this is a straight up.
We're doomed.
This is where did we roll this thing? The engagement roll. Is this just off the ship? Like we do as a fortune roll. Yeah, so you can do it off the ship. So Monster
I need to pull up the ship.
on the start answer. Yeah, most of the way down. Oh, I like how you guys have built a contact for the ship. Thank you, whoever just typed that up.
It's under Crazy Frim.
Yeah, it's the
Or
roll
roll
function
point.
is directly underneath Crazy Frem. Crazy Frem, the craziest of Frems. Thank you, Mike.
I'm sorry. What?
So if you look on the ship under the contacts list,
Oh shit. Okay.
the last contact listed for the ship is now Crazy Frem, the craziest of Frems. You will see a roll fortune button. You will be rolling 3 dice for the fortune roll. Feel free to do that.
Okay, I am. Oh, there we go. 3 dice.
3 dice.
Fortune and glory.
I love how those commas take so long to fill in with numbers. It's just comma, comma. What are we going to get? We don't know. It's a mystery. It's Schrodinger's dice. All right. So this puts us at a risky position for this next roll. What I am envisioning for this, since we're doing more of a, it's sort of a scientific triangulation thing, but we're relying on attune, is actually having the non-attuney person do a study roll while you guys assist by virtue of activating the, or you know what? What if? Let's not do that assist thing. What is the role I am looking for? I am looking for the.
Are you looking for a group roll?
I am looking for that group role. Where is that? Teamwork.
Because we've done so well with those in the past.
It's the doctor's turn to suffer for leading a group role.
No, it's not. The doctor doesn't have the stress to do that.
You're only going to take at most 3.
Physician, heal thyself.
The worst you could take is. Wait, I thought it was like a stress for every failed dice.
Yes.
Or is it fail?
Every failed person.
Oh, I see.
Every person who doesn't succeed.
But wait, if they get some success, it still counts?
No, you only have one result, which is the highest die.
Each PC who's involved makes an action roll, and the team counts the single best result as the overall effort. However, the character leading the group takes 1 stress for each PC that rolled a 1 to 3 as their best result. Okay.
Yes.
Fair
So
enough.
At worst,
Rolled a 1 or a 1 to 3 as their best result.
Right.
Yes.
So you're not going to take a stress for every single 1 to 3 on the list. At worst, you're going to, like, if all 3 of you fail, you're going to take 3 stress.
If this wasn't a group effort and that person would have failed, you take stress.
Yes.
Lovely.
Yes.
At worst, it's going to be 3 stress.
Unless we can flashback our way into Armament or Drifter helping, which I'm fine with. My initial idea here is that, and it says everybody should be rolling the same action, but I'm fiddling with that a little bit because I envision the doctor studying the resonance and sort of results of various energy signals and that kind of thing. See if there's any responding resonance, that kind of thing, while Monster and K roll a tune. So they kind of activate the key, and the doctor sort of watches and studies the results.
And gets hit by strange mystical lightnings.
And gets hit by, yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah,
can
I
you
love-
take 2?
Yeah.
What's that?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, he's not that bad off.
Yeah, if I was, I would have studied. Done.
And we're
stuff.
we're studying since we are doing a job of reset the gambits. Can either of the people who would be sort of flashbacking into this think of a way in which they could also have participated through their own sort of insight, skills, knowledge, that sort of thing?
Not readily.
Not readily.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of the implicit scenario here is that they snuck out without telling us. So
Right, but I'm
it's not like
thinking
they would have consulted this.
I'm thinking like in terms of like a flashback. It's like actually, if based on blah 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 blah. But no, it's fine. I'm
I was
just
gonna say, Armin's whole deal with this has been trying to sell that key.
so
So
his insight's not going to be.
You don't want to find more of them?
I mean, if we are going to sell them, yes.
That doesn't simplify the situation necessarily for Armin, which I think is sort of funny actually. But anyway, all right. So that's just kind of going around then looking at the various people here. We've got Monster, who's be rolling a tune, which he has 1 dice in.
Oh boy.
Monster, are you doing anything in particular with that personally to go for
to increase my odds?
to increase, to give you more dice on the table, so to speak?
Well, that's a really interesting question.
Because you have stress.
I don't suppose I can try to intimidate the Aleph key. No, no, right.
I mean,
yeah,
no.
I could try to push myself,
Which is 2 stress. Which
could find out if there's a devil's bargain on the table.
I would say.
There's gambits on the table.
Let me look at something on the devil's bargain before I spout off nonsense. Give me just 1 second here. Same question while I'm looking this up. Same question to Kay, or to Sun for that matter. If you guys are inclined to push, use a gambit. There's 3 gambits on the table, so certainly that's an option. We're risky standard because of the layout of the lay of the land, and I am going to quickly. I say quickly. 20, 21, 67. Look at the devil's bargain real quick.
Monster didn't properly honor the spirits of all the fish he caught.
Or he might still have fish on the mind. So there's the devil's bargain. I'm thinking. Collateral damage, unintended harm.
So the devil's bargain is some of that fish has definitely given you the runs.
Offend or anger.
That sounds like more of a threat for the other people here in our little submarine than
Okay.
I mean, level 1 harm, incredibly gassy, does affect everyone.
Okay. I think I have a couple different options here, but I think the one I'm going with is starting or ticking a troublesome clock. So the devil's bargain here would be that we would just the activity of the key would start a clock for probably something named Chum in the Deep. Chum, no. Awakening something in the deep. So probably like a 4 o'clock that we would start and toss a tick at for awakening something in the deep. And obviously a failure would probably advance that clock somewhat precipitously.
Substantially.
Yeah.
I'm going to point out that the Aquaman movie had Julie Andrews playing the voice of this giant monster, and the Honest Trailers guys came up with a perfect name for that, which was Kai Julie Andrews.
Hi, Julian. Oh my.
I didn't know she had voiced one of the monsters. That I don't know that it makes the movie any better for me, but
It made it so much better for me.
yeah,
But
I need to watch the honest trailer for that one because I don't think I.
so I'm just saying, like, if you have like weird creatures of the deep, feel free to play around with them on this.
I'm good with potentially attracting a strange creature of the deep.
We'll start a clock and ticket, and that'll give you an extra dice. I'll get that up here. And honestly, I'll give the same Devil's Bargain to.
Same clock.
Oh yeah, I'll absolutely give the same clock, the same Devil's Bargain clock option to Kay if she's so inclined.
I think I'm more likely to push myself than to.
Well, you've got that option available to you. Then let me just. Oh, I'm in the wrong layer here. I'm gonna grab the Piss Off the Starsmiths Guild. We're gonna clone that real quick. Bring her down here. We'll call this deep. Save that. And we'll only ticket once. Keeping in mind that a failure from, a monster is likely to move that quickly along. All right. So are you going to push yourself since you for that attune thing, or what do you think?
I'll push myself.
All right, so you're gonna push yourself. That'll get you.
Since I'm the one that brought us here in the first place, I feel obligated to.
And that's a nice. Are you inclined to use a gambit as well? You've got 3 dice with the push. Gambit gets you 4.
How does everybody else feel about?
And we're just
for gambits now versus later.
Well, it's a short. I mean, theoretically.
I think it depends on how short a thing it is. So
it's either short or it's you guys screaming for help from the ship.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I'll take one of those. So I'll have 4 die.
Yeah, you'll have 4 to roll there. And okay. Sun, what's your game plan? You have study at 1. You can push yourself. You can.
If he's that high on stress.
I would not push myself.
He's not that high. He's got 4. It's he's not even at half yet.
I have, yeah, but I don't want to. I made my way through years of med school. I will not stress myself out unnecessarily.
I see. Okay. That's
what self-medication is for.
Are you inclined to roll any other dice or acquire dice through any other means? I've got another Devil's Bargain.
She do.
The Devil's Bargain.
On top of summoning a monster from the deep.
Yeah.
The vasty deep.
The vasty deep. The Devil's Bargain is that this whole resonance thing with the key is going to have a reaction that actually does have some pretty deleterious effects on this guy's ship. He's going to be upset about that, and he is going to demand recompense, which will cost a cred from somebody. Or you can.
Oh, and that somebody is me.
Well, I mean, that's all about whether or not you can talk somebody else into paying for it. But yeah, it's.
This is Kay's experiment. She should pay for it.
So when you're talking about failure, are you talking about failure of an individual role, or you're talking about failure as the group role?
This is a Devil's Bargain, so this is just going to happen. The Devil's Bargain thing is this happens, the ship is damaged, and you can either pay me so I can get it fixed, or you can swim home.
I thought the Devil's Bargain only came true if
Devil's Bargains always happen. So so Dave's thing, the clock has started. Something is stirring in the deep. It hasn't gotten here yet. That kind of thing. This is one of the other Devil's Bargains is, something costs you a cred, basically. In this case, it's there's the electronics in the ship short out, or all the rivets on the starboard side of the ship pop, or at least some important rivets on the starboard side. They're all kind of important at this depth, but stuff along those lines. So that the failure is when I was talking about like the clock, the failure can advance the clock, but the fact that the clock exists and has a tick on it is just the devil's bargain. That just happens to get you the dice.
So, how many dice are we at total? I would have one. How many do?
It's individual rolls. It's not a combined
roll.
It
is.
Well, yes, but we basically just need to get
a 6.
Stuff. Yeah.
So you're rolling. Monster's rolling 2. K's rolling 4. You'd be rolling 1. So that's a total of 7 dice. The only real risk to you is it's more about avoiding getting the 1, 2, 3, so that you're not taking stress. But
so another dice would just
reduce the odds of you getting stress, and possibly, obviously also increase the odds of you getting 6.
It would increase. No, it would, because there'd be more dice.
No. It isn't if you get a 1, 2, or 3. It's if you only
that's
get
the high.
If that's your best.
Yeah, if your best result is, basic. So for the purposes of stress, we look at it and go, did you individually fail to contribute? Literally fail. And if that answer is yes, you pick up stress.
That was all of us not being helpful dealing with the dead body in the bar.
Yes, exactly. A bunch of you didn't help. Armin was the only one who was actually being stealthy. This caused Armin a lot of stress.
Very appropriate phrase for that, too.
Exactly. It caused Armin a lot of stress. So in this case, it's more about a matter of, avoiding that consequence, which is a relatively light consequence. It's like, oh, do I want to take 2 stress to roll an extra dice, or just 1 stress if I fuck up? When you put it that way.
Yeah.
So, or do I want to pay a cred to reduce my chances of, having to deal with that by a certain amount? In this case, basically what I'm saying, do you want another dice? It'll cost you your cred.
Yeah.
Entirely up to you.
Did Kay use a gambit?
Kay used a gambit. But there's no reason you couldn't use another one. I am very accommodating when it comes to you guys using your non-recoverable resources. So by all means, you should definitely do that.
I don't know. If I were going to add something, I'd probably do a gambit, but that's a group resource, so I'll let the group give input.
Well, in theory, this is going to be really short, so, what the hell? And in practice, monster will punch whatever monster arrives.
And correct me if I'm wrong on this, but if there's multiple 6s, that still counts as a crit, even if they come from different sources, right? It should. Right?
I would say it does.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
So the odds of there being a crit get progressively better.
Sure.
Watch it be nothing but 3s.
God.
Nothing but 6s, and then you have to pay us.
Yeah. Let's just say
I'll use a gambit and roll 2 dice.
Okay. All right. So if you would all do
risky standard.
So it's risky standard. Monster's rolling 2. K is rolling 4. Sun is rolling. I think you're rolling 2.
2.
And I just want to point out on my sheet, for example, there's a special ability that says if you lead a group action in combat, you may count multiple 6s from different rolls as a critical. So I'm assuming the default is a
special thing.
Yeah, that would be a special thing. I think, yeah. Thank you for pointing that out, because that's really good information to have. So the crits kind of need to be from one place, but in any case, a 6 is a 6. Yeah, I suppose it makes sense. You can't really crit from multiple people being competent. Just competent. But if one person is exceptional, all right, monster or somebody, monster or somebody roll.
Okay,
got our
so
3
I've got
5.
so,
5s.
Got 5s.
So submit. Let's see, risky, standard,
Mm-hmm.
and I had
1 extra.
One extra?
One extra.
One.
Yep.
Ooh.
I don't know what it is about you, Dave, with the lag on the number coming up, but it always seems to be your rolls. But nobody failed, so no stress.
No stress.
And I will point out that had Sun not pulled his second dice, he would have failed. So
Dave rolled 2 commas.
Dave rolled 2 commas. No, I got his numbers of 4-3 eventually.
Yeah.
I know. I'm just joking about the
2 commas. Yeah, I got it. It's a crit. It's a punctuation crit. Okay, so we have 5 as our high die. And right about then is when I realized that I once again forgot to talk about what the risk was. But we will probably... Okay, let's just... Gotta get back over here. Move this thing to a different layer. Map layer? Sure, why not? Nope. Still wrong. Token layer. There we go. All right. So choose that one and fill her out pretty close. And I think we're just going to stay with the clock that's already there in terms of the risk. So we will advance this one.
Sorry, what?
So
what clock is that?
The clock is the Awakening the Deep thing.
That's the 4-tick clock.
The 4-tick clock, and I think
What's the big one underneath that?
Exploring Mem. Oh, is the
Okay.
label not showing up?
Not for me.
Not for me.
Okay. No, that's weird. Oh, I see why. Hang
But
on.
it's a big clock, so I figured out which one.
Yeah. There. Is that better? I think it showed.
Yes.
Okay. You know what? 5's not that bad. We're only going to move it up a tick. So yeah, I can kind of go with this. You get, Sun, a really good triangulation. So information kind of all around. You get a really good location really on sort of like a topographical, like digital overlay, just in terms of, you can kind of do the math on this, and it's like, you're like, oh God, I swore up and down I was never going to need to use the Pythagorean theorem before again, but damn it, here it is. But you're able to, I mean, not exactly pinpoint, but definitely distance, time, stuff like that. You're able to, you'd put good money on probably a 20 to 50 kilometer patch of ground, which when you're considering like a good stretch of planet that you're looking at, not too bad. This is where we need to go. You can say rather definitively, looking at the thing, and showing it to the guy. So that's immediate information that you have right there. What the information that I will give to Monster and K is in-game, in-character awareness of that other smaller clock, without any doubt whatsoever that that is definitely a thing that exists as a risk hanging over your head. You felt something shift in its sleep, roll over, grumble, check its wristwatch, and then kind of fall back into sort of a half slumber, knowing that the alarm's going to go off in 15 minutes. Something down there stirred. And you could, I picture like after the attunement and the closed eyes kind of focusing and stuff, both of your eyes kind of opening up and you guys looking at each other across the key with looking at each other just to see what's there, and both of you seeing in the other's face full knowledge of the fact that the other one's looking at you to say to check and see if you felt that, and seeing very clearly that oh yeah, we definitely did. So that's information that you have now. That's a clock that exists. I mean, as a bonus, that's also a clock that can be manipulated. So, yay? Bonus? The guy running the ship, we should have named him. Didn't name him.
Andy.
What's that? Andy?
Sandy.
Oh, Sandy. Sandy. It's spelled differently.
And I.
Spelled with a Q.
No. He definitely he's got a hegemony name. That's not what any of his memish friends call him.
Is he the memish Jasper?
Jasper? I don't know the reference.
It seems like an old sea captain name, but that just might be me.
No, yeah.
Oh, who was the? No, he's the character in. Let me look it up.
Super annoying.
Coral. The fishing boat guy in Doctor No that dies a horrible death because James Bond takes him someplace dangerous.
Sure. Yeah, but so
That's
he
not
looks at
ominous at all.
he looks at that map and says, and looks at it and goes, "Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, we're not going there. I'm not going there. That is not a place that is being gone to by me. That's not a place that we go.
Why not?
Because nothing comes back. And I like coming back from places that I go to. Because back is where all the rest of my stuff is.
It's okay. We always come back.
You don't own this ship. You might come back, but you aren't going. So it's really not a non-issue as far as that goes. It doesn't matter whether you come back because you have no place to come back from except for right here because we're not going there. So this may be really this is how
I look at him with a straight face and say, "So what's your price?"
I just want to jump in with a bit from Clear and Present Danger where Jack Ryan is asking this question of a guy in South America about his helicopter. The guy's like, $4 million. And Jack is like, what if we just wanted to take it for a test flight? You could, but you need to leave a deposit. Well, how much? $4 million. And Jack Ryan pulls out a CIA checkbook and says, do you take a company check? So that's...
But
I don't think that's an option for us.
But still, a lovely...
You are not writing a check out of my check.
First of all...
I am almost a tier 1 wealth.
By God, as God is my witness, I will never be hungry again. I don't even know what movie... I don't even know what movie that quote is from. I just know it.
Gone with the Wind.
Unfortunately, I know that.
Thanks, Dad.
But you need to watch it once so you know where the quote comes from.
No, see, Uncle Doyce was able to say it, and yet he doesn't know. Therefore, I did not need to watch that.
I probably could have guessed Gone with the Wind, maybe, but I don't know. You know, it's funny.
Cultural osmosis is a hell of a thing.
Oh yeah, exactly. And you know, it's
Yeah,
funny.
it's like how I know what's going on with Game of Thrones.
So I need, I stopped watching 4 years ago and watched the last 3 episodes, and I needed nothing explained to me, like nothing, like who people were, what had happened up to that point in time. It was all telegraphed far enough in advance that like, oh, okay, sure, yeah, that's fine. And I don't need to go back and watch any of the stuff I missed because there was occasionally a question like, what happened to so and so? Oh, he died. Which honestly, I could have bet folding money that was going to be the answer anyway because it's Game of Thrones. Of course he died. Whoever he was or she. Anyway, I will say this. After I can't remember what. Oh, I had a gift that I sent to my daughter of Alan Rickman in the alien makeup from Galaxy Quest, like looking tiredly and kind of flopping over the side of the chair, like, oh my God, with this massive eye and head roll. And my daughter's response was, oh my God, that's so creepy looking. What is wrong with him? And I realized, actually, my wife pointed out, to my horror, she didn't know what Galaxy Quest was.
Oh no!
I have failed. I have failed.
You're
this
a
city.
failure.
I have failed this city.
Well, first you need to walk her through, the
No.
entire Star Trek canon first.
No,
and then watch Galaxy Quest so she gets all the jokes.
That took exactly.
As I have suffered, so must others suffer.
You know what I did? I said Star Trek existed for 2 or 3 years. I couldn't remember how many it was. For 2 or 3 years.
3.
Nobody gave a shit except for a small group of people who kept it alive despite all other things by reruns for the next 10 to 20 years until they finally got sick of people whining about it and made movies out of it, thinking maybe they could make some money. And thus has all the rest of the Star Trek stuff happened. This movie is about that, but funny and less depressing. And it is ranked by most people who know Star Wars or Star Trek as one of the better Star Trek movies, even though it is not, in fact, a Star Trek movie. And that was literally all the lead-in I gave to her.
I believe it was voted the 5th best Star Wars movie.
Yeah, and
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Trek. Yeah,
okay.
And ranked 3rd by Will Wheaton, I think. In any case, that was all the lead-in I gave to her. So we watched it last week. I had utterly forgotten how many lines of that movie have inextricably crept into our daily lexicon. Like, and some of them, one of them in particular, now you can't say it at full volume, Margie, because I have my headphones on, but I know that sound. That's a bad sound.
Bad sound.
It's been so much part of just regular conversation that I'd forgotten where it came from. And we recently watched some other movie from around that era. We watched The Mummy and a couple, and
I love The Mummy.
Yeah, and I can't get Kaylee to watch it. We have a deal now where she'll.
No.
Well, the problem is that the first time it came up where she had the opportunity to watch it, is her cousins wanted to watch it, and she was like 5 and willing to watch whatever they were watching.
It was your Jurassic Park.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was her Jurassic Park. And as a consequence, the deal now is she's agreed to watch it as long as she's allowed to sketch on her iPad the entire time, and I'm not allowed to say, wait, look at this bit at any point during the movie. So I might actually get her through it at some point somewhere.
I'll help with that. I love the movie.
Yeah, she considers that entire fact suspect. Like, it's just everything having to do with that movie.
Fair enough, but
she was ruined.
I'll be honest, like, I've gone back and watched Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I know. And
it just took me quite a few years.
Yeah. But I mean, I tend to think of like the big quotable movies for me as being like Aliens, Princess Bride, things like that. And that's true, but there was this whole second generation of them that happened like around the time of Galaxy Quest and things like that, where we, kind of before kids came, where there was a bunch of movies that were being watched that were particularly funny, and that was Galaxy Quest is definitely one of those. It's just like, my God, there's a lot of lines in that movie. Whoever wrote this, it was a badly written episode. Anyway, it's just so much good stuff in there. Or that was a hell of a thing. That was another one that I actually used a couple days ago because I went for a run and sort of decided, you know what, I'm going to run a little bit further than I have normally. And I ended up doing like 11 and a half miles. And I sent the text to Kaylee of like the result, like shot from, I don't know, one of my run tracking apps, and then the longest run badge that it gave me, and then a shot of that guy from the movie going, well, that was a hell of a thing. Because that was exactly how I felt afterwards.
That was all your problem, Jason. You were never serious about the craft.
So much good stuff. Anyway. So he is balking and needs to be convinced in some fashion, whether that be through the carrot or the stick or bribery. I mean, he'll do it for a cred. You don't even need to roll. If you don't feel like,
Armin offers a cred. Our good friend Armin offers a cred. I have a flashback.
A flashback.
I do.
I have a flashback to like sneaking.
To Armin saying, in no way would I ever offer a cred for this stupid thing.
And then Monster pulling his checkbook out of his pocket with a smile. Like a disturbingly broad smile. I like that. The hell I do. Anyway. So yeah, I mean, you can give it, I mean, just straight up, I'll just tell you, he's, he doesn't want to do it, but he will certainly allow himself to be convinced for a cred. A command would work. Sway would work.
I'm looking at my sheet and I don't have any creds, but I don't know what I've spent any money on.
You should have had it. I mean,
no, we did not split the cred.
Well, somebody.
Oh, yeah, we put it all into the ship.
Right.
No,
the
cred.
The doctor has a cred.
No, maybe we spent it on something because I didn't have a cred.
I don't recall. I don't recall anybody spending anything, but I do know that the doctor had a cred, and that probably didn't happen by accident.
Yeah, I have a cred.
So in any case,
y'all just spent it already because you're greedy and don't know how to save.
I don't think that's probably it.
Homemade drugs are the way to go.
If you can't,
oh no, dear, you just save in bulk.
If you can't, buy your ecstasy, homemade is fine.
No, Harvey Mudd College.
So that's an option, at least for one of you. Sway, talk him into it. Command.
That's certainly the direction I would be leaning, since that's
disturbingly
kind of my natural.
Yeah.
Or I could bet him for it.
How do you see that working?
Loaded dice.
Well, no, I'm not. Yeah.
It's a sway to get him to bet.
No sway. I mean, the sway can be whatever you like, which is fine. But
I could always.
Just sounds very scoundrelly if I get him to do it. By losing a bet as opposed to,
Well, you want to go classic Han Solo. Talking Han Solo into kind of a thing. It's like where we're going. It's clearly some sort of resonant artifact. There's probably more of them. They're probably valuable. We have no use for any of the ones except for the one we have use for. So you can make a lot here.
How much?
More than you can imagine. I mean.
I don't know. I can imagine an awful lot.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I mean. Galaxy Quest has got an almost Star Warsian level of quotable lines that I had forgotten had worked their way into the lexicon. It's a rock. It doesn't have any vulnerable spots. So good. So good. I've said that to my son, and he turned to me and was like, hey. I'm like, well, it's not an insult for me to have quoted a movie. I mean, honestly, it's surprising I don't do it more often. Anyway. So, he actually. So yeah, if you want to try and talk him into it, it's definitely sway is the way to go. And this is probably, if you can close the clock on this, going to be the end of at least this mission.
Good, because I feel like we've been monopolizing everybody's time.
We have been, and I apologize to everybody, but I kind of know where this is going to end up going, so everybody's going to be involved.
And Jen got to roll, so you know.
So why don't you burn a gambit and throw 3 dice at this thing and see if we can close the door on this bad boy. Alternately, as you're trying to talk him into this, you roll all 3s, and as you're trying to talk him into this, something very large shows up on the local sonar, and
that would certainly get everybody else involved.
Yeah, everyone's going to be involved one way or the other, whether this is a success or not. So,
you guys good with that?
Well,
yeah,
wrap this thing up.
Hey.
I apologize. We didn't get into actual play for 2 of our 3 folks, but it's a 5. Okay. So I know what the failure. I know what the risk here, because it, kind of a mixed success. I know what this is, and this is just kind of background noise. It's not anything that's going to immediately affect things here. The guy is going to let himself be talked into this. Certainly, he's down with all this kind of thing. We'll say from an intelligence security standpoint, he's not exact. I mean, rumors of what happened here are going to get out. Once everything's said is done, he's going to tell some tales. The story's going to get out. Essentially, what this means is,
or he's going to sell an artifact, and somebody's going to know where he got it.
Right, and he'll happily tell that story, kind of a thing. Essentially, what it's going to do is generate an extra bit of heat. Mechanically speaking, it's going to generate an extra bit of heat, but also people are just going to know that you were doing some rather interesting artifact spelunking / dowsing with a pretty little toy down here, and that's going to get kind of associated with you guys. So, but he will.
Good thing that I'm an archaeologist and do things like that.
Yeah, but again, all kind of heat on this thing, which I think is kind of the only heat that we need to worry about on this one, because not a lot else happened. This is definitely on the download and kind of quiet, so we'll just move up a little tick of heat there in Holt, and he will, with some regrets and a great deal of muttering, because he's agreeing, but he still thinks it's a terrible idea, heads in the direction of this thing, which again is not. It's skimming the rim of this of the truly deep spaces, but it's not in that area. And this is certainly a deep area, but it's not one of the deeps, proper deeps. And definitely in the area that's kind of away from a lot of the settlements and that sort of thing. And let me see if I can find it. I want to find a picture of what I'm thinking of here, and I will grab. So there's kind of like this. Let me find the image while I'm thinking of it. There's kind of like this large rock outcroppings in this, like where the guy is kind of headed, where it's like the edge is sort of heavily built up and kind of
was fortified,
very, very craggy and built up, and lots of jutting spires and kind of things, and that sort of deal. And as you're getting kind of, he goes, well, I mean, this is just random. This is just random like rock formations and stuff like. I don't know what you think is so. And right about then, the key rings, for lack of a better phrase. It. I don't want to say chimes because that implies like an electronic kind of doorbell kind of thing. It chimes like a struck bell, or tuning fork, I guess. And the more notable thing is,
Analogy.
like, that's definitely notable and definitely like, oh, there's obviously something here. But more notable is a son who's still kind of at the sensor, sensor screens and stuff like that, where he'd originally kind of sussed out, which direction to go. Kind of goes, guys, because they're like I just got a really different reading on the sonar for this area, and it's fading, like it's being scanned over, but you can rewind sort of the sonar scans kind of thing, and the scans simultaneous with that chime. He can kind of dial back to those to show you what they were showing when the chime went off. And the rocks don't show up on the sonar during the chime. This does.
Big is that?
Bigger than your ship.
Cool.
City block. Maybe 20 stories tall. Maybe 30 if you count the part that goes down. Something inside the rock or covered by the rock or built into the rock, but there's
graphically disguised by.
Oh, it could be holographic, but just as likely it's just, I mean, a couple million years of barnacles. Who knows? Coral. Rock.
Isn't coral.
Could be coral. And we will.
That's not what it tastes like.
And I don't care. I don't care who says it. It may not be even clear. This would be one of those things where, in the comic book of this, the frame, the panel is still showing the readout, and there's a speech bubble of. So, I think maybe we should call Armin and Drifter, and another speech bubble that says yeah. And it's not clear because none of you guys are in frame who said which. Just that it was said. And it doesn't really matter, necessarily. So I think we should probably call Armin and Drifter. Yeah. And that's where we'll stop. We'll start.
I don't know if Armin's gonna like this.
We have a new job. And again, that speech bubble could be anybody's, and it doesn't really matter, although it's probably true. We should probably call Armin. We should probably call Armin and Drifter. Yeah, Armin's not gonna like this. No.
No.
And there we go. Okay.
And the final speech bubble is, well, maybe it'll be worth his while.
My profound apologies to Mike and Bill, because you guys did not get a lot of, or any rather, other than downtime, screen time.
Yeah.
So
we get some.
My apologies there. I appreciate all the contributions despite that, and we will endeavor to make next session that much more interesting for you.
No, it's all good.
Deeply involved. Okay. So
city block of alien technology. Yeah, that sounds like it might be worthwhile.
A cubic city block of alien tech. Yeah, it might be something useful in there. So this one is going to be I'll worry about it's going to be the lowest paying job, whatever that is. I think it's like 1 or 2 cred, something like that, which will kind of roll into the other thing. But the next one's going to be a potentially a much bigger payoff. So like one of the big payoffs. Skill's gonna be kind of high though. Just saying. Okay, so let's get over to the ship here real quick and look at some stuff. Mark XP. If no transporter smuggling. Contend with challenges above your current station. Not yet. You can wait on that one. You'll get that checked next time.
Thank you.
Bolster your crew's reputation or develop a new one. Again, not yet, but this will definitely come out because of that heat. Actually, I'm going to give you a pip on that just because I already applied the heat to the system. So, express the goals, drives, inner conflict, or essential nature of the crew. Yes. I'm going to say drives and inner conflict because you sort of left a couple of people stranded just to go and do this. So
I think the last, panel just does it right there.
Yeah. It's pretty good there. I'm not sure if this is where I kind of feel bad. I'm not sure if Armin and or Drifter are really going to have much where they can really ping anything because didn't get a chance to do any of that. So must make sure that happens next time.
So the work towards stuff like that doesn't really count towards.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go back and look at Armin real quick because he was working towards his nobility thing. So I would say we're still going to get Armin a ping on the express your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background.
Because he pushed himself on it.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Thank you for speaking up to that, and that's going to make me take a harder look at Drifter's thing here. I
was gonna say it's very hard not to get the bonus for.
Even if all you have is, even if all you do is the downtime and stuff. And you didn't struggle with your vices or traumas, but you did investigate them. And actually, I like this because it actually gave us a ton of world building about the world with what Drifter was doing, for his investigating his vices, because we got to learn a lot about just the both the hegemonic and the memic side of the culture with regards to what's the sort of stuff that gets bet on and all that kind of stuff. So I like that. Certainly worth a tick, even though we didn't get a lot of playtime out of it. Okay. Address the tough challenge with charm or audacity. Express your
Is that what
beliefs.
sway is? Like sort of that original.
Yeah, I'll give you a take on that.
Some my sway.
Express your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background. Yeah, let me just abandon some people so I can go and check out this thing in the bottom of the ocean. Yeah. So there you go. Your XP is ticked off. If you want to do a playbook advancement, or you could shift it over to stats. You have a pile of XP there, waiting to have something done to it. Monster.
Yeah, I'm not sure that anything kind of really.
Man, I tried really hard to have that last thing be a threat, but didn't really necessarily come up.
Yeah. It made more sense to do it through a sway and.
I can still give you one for the beliefs though, your drives rather, just because it was because we were like, well, I don't know how you're going to convince Monster to bring along the case. Oh, well, let me just explain how that's going to happen. Because it's not only possible, it's in fact easy. And, that was you were very quick on the draw with that. So
sure.
That is just fine. And we'll look back at Sun real quick. Try to get you in the situations where you can heal people and then they end up not getting shot at.
Tried.
We'll say insight here because you were actually doing insight on with your study there. I believe drives, heritage, or background. Your drives, I'm going to give you a tick on that because you were working on your thing for getting the med bay set up in the ship. and we'll leave it at that. So everybody crawls up a few ticks.
Awesome.
And there we are. We are dark next week because we will be, Kaylee and I will be flying back from the East Coast, doing a little Memorial Day stuff. So please, everybody, have a enjoyable Memorial Day, if it is your choice to do so. If you have any place where you have to be planting, where you're going to plant flags and stuff like that, well, then enjoy that time. My daughter will be going and doing that with her class on Thursday as an early kind of thing. My family is going to be doing all of that back at home, so there you go with that. Anyhow, I am going to be going to the East Coast and running in a 5-mile race because there's nothing I like better than dropping down to sea level and running against a bunch of flatlanders on flat ground. It really, it's like, oh, it's 5 miles. I'm like, okay, so I do 5 miles 2 or 3 times a week in the very appropriately named Highlands Ranch. I'm really not too concerned. We did a Mother's Day 5K last weekend that started at Mountain Vista High School, also appropriately named. And the first 2 kilometers had a 250-foot drop in altitude.
Yep.
And then
that's Mountain Vista.
You go from the high school straight down to the Highlands Ranch mansion. Down, like it's basically a straight downhill. And then we came back along a different path that went and made up all the altitude, all the distance up in the 3rd kilometer, and then dropped back down. And then the 4th kilometer went back up to the same height and dropped back down. And the 5th kilometer went back up.
Ouch.
It was just horrible. It was just horrible. I managed to make a good time, but oh my God, I felt like I was wrung out. And I'm talking like a runner, which sort of mildly pisses me off because now I can't make fun of my sister anymore. The running joke used to be, do you have any history of insanity in your family? I used to be able to say, yes, my sister runs marathons. And
the running joke.
Yeah, and
yeah,
and I'm it turns but can I tell you the joke? And the thing is, she didn't mean it as a joke. But it was absolutely one of the most backhanded slams, unintentional backhanded slams that I think I've ever been dealt. My daughter said, Kaylee, says, I think it's really cool how you're like really like enjoy swimming and you're so good at it, but it makes me kind of sad that you found out that you liked it and that you're good at it so late in life.
Oh.
And I'm like, I look at her and I'm like, bitch, I ain't dead. What the hell? But yeah, she's talking like he found out and he only had 3 years to enjoy it was kind of how it sounded. I'm like, oh, girl, you are out of the will, just out of the will. Anyway. All right. Well, thank you guys very much. Fun stuff. I'm going to stop recording. Where are we at here? Oh my God.
So all the locals, we do have a game day on Saturday. So.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna miss that.
Yep.
Friends and family, welcome.
Is there anything you guys want me to bring?
I haven't even figured out what I'm doing yet for dinner.
So I was the one with the copy of like Monster Academy, or not Monster, the Harry Potter-ish one, and
Big